Dr. Thokozani Simelane is a research director at the Africa Institute of South Africa Research Division of the Human Sciences Research Council and joins us now. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, Peter, and good evening to viewers at home. Thank you for having me here.
All right. How much of a big deal is this visit by the King and Queen of Belgium, along with this entourage of government officials?
It is certainly of a big deal in the sense that it needs to be perceived as an opportunity that cannot be missed. Bearing in mind that South Africa is in great need, of course, of investment opportunity, as well as the market for its products.
All right, let's talk about the products themselves, because it looks as if it's a traditional African picture. We export mostly raw materials and we import mostly finished goods, apart from, I think, delivery trucks is what we export as well. And this seems to be the relationship that we have with most Western nations. How do we change that game? Is that what these kinds of visits are about?
You are perfectly right in your assessment of the relationships that define the Africa in general with the European markets or elsewhere. It's mostly based on the export of raw materials. I think now what needs to be changed is to emphasize the beneficiation, as it has been said in the past, as well as the deployment of some of the value chains that are sitting in the developed economies for the benefit of industrializing or enhancing the industrial activities of the developing countries like South Africa. So, I mean, you may recall that Belgium is known for advanced processing capabilities of the minerals like diamonds. So I think on a broader scale that South Africa can take a look and consider possibilities of negotiating the deployment of some of the value chains capabilities that are sitting in Belgium, so that South Africa can then strengthen its industrial capacities.
Tell us about the relationship between us and the European Union and then the countries of the European Union. When we're trading with EU partners, are we bound by the rules of the EU in its totality, or can we make up special arrangements with Belgium in particular?
I like what you are indicating, because in most instances, when we define the relationship, our relationship with the European countries, we made special reference to EU as a bloc. I mean, in reality, we need now to appreciate the fact that a country may not be compared as to how it trades with a bloc, but we need to look at the relationship at a bilateral level. So for Belgium and South Africa, as it is happening now, I think the main emphasis should be on what is it that South Africa can successfully negotiate with Belgium at a country level. So this visit presents such an opportunity. And also we need to recall that the hype of the activities in terms of bilateral relations between South Africa and Belgium started during the presidency of the former president Thabo Mbeki. So it means that it's relatively new, and it's filled up with a lot of opportunities that needs to be explored. So for me, I can say that the significant part of this visit is to look at how the two countries can strengthen their bilateral engagement and the relationship for trade, rather than to look at the bloc in general, because that might not be so effective or yield the desired effect, bearing in mind that the bloc is composed of a number of countries.
Interesting. All right. So I was just asking about the agriculture sector. Both countries agricultural in nature as well. How is it that some of our agriculture doesn't end up in Belgium?
Peter, if you look at the emphasis of trade between the two countries, agriculture is not ranking high. So that on its own is indicative of the fact that there is a huge opportunity for the two countries to negotiate and establish the framework of trading with agricultural products. I mean, if you can look at the speech by President Ramaphosa to the Business Council, he did, of course, hinted on the opportunities for agricultural sector. But for South Africa, we then need to take into consideration the fact that the agricultural sector for the country is dual. Dual in the sense that we have a very strong commercial sector, which is capable of producing and marketing its products or produced at an international level. And then we have this other leg, which I think is mostly neglected, of enhancing the food security at a household level. I think when South Africa is considering the strengthening the bilateral relations and the trade, it mustn't neglect the fact that South Africa is requiring international support in terms of ensuring that the families are also food secure. So in that regard, it might be important to assist South Africa, in particular for small-scale farmers and producers, to be able to produce the food which can then be consumed at a household level. At a commercial scale, it presents an unlimited opportunities based on how the negotiations are being tackled at a bilateral level.
All right, so good relationship, good level of trade, but certainly not blowing out the lights in terms of the amounts. And as you say, relatively new relationship. Just how big can it get in terms of levels?
You have made a reference to the trade volume, and you estimated it into millions. Really, that is very, very small. However, that means that these trades can then be increased into billions of rands or US dollars, something which can then have a significant impact in South Africa, both in terms of creating the market availability for South African produce, while at a local scale, it can also help a lot in terms of creating jobs that are desperately needed in the country.
Dr. Simelane, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very, very much indeed for your insights on this relationship between Belgium and South Africa and its potential. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, that's Dr. Thokozani Simelane, who's a research director at the Africa Institute of South Africa Research Division at the Human Sciences Research Council.